Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the recap. I'm Laz, filling in for Scott the Red Dog Redler, who has completed the astounding Boston Marathon in a measly 4 hours, which is about 4 hours. No, I should say it's about 8 hours faster than I can do it in. So congrats to Scott for such a big accomplishment. We're all very, very proud of you. I'm looking forward to having you back. That being said, today was a day where I think you had to take notice. It was a day of haves and have-nots. There certainly were the have-nots. High beta momentum stocks that we've seen do nothing but rise for the better part of the last 6 months, if not even the last 2 years, coming down with a thunderous, sell-off Friday, and into today. The selling did not stop from pretty much the opening bell. And we'll take a look at that. Really a mixed bag because you saw the market hold its gains. I think the Dow, I'm not sure exactly where we finished, but we're up about 100, 120 points in the Dow, and the S&P's held in for the better part of the day. We may have seen some selling towards the close, but you certainly didn't see that type of panic sell that we saw in some of the high beta. Caterpillar held in, IBM held in, some of the banks held in today. So really an outflow of money from big cap technology. Google taking a haircut, Priceline taking a haircut, Apple taking a big haircut. So we'll take a look here, and let's start with Apple. I think it's really the most unique situation, and we talked about it in the morning call. We talk about it all the time. The selling continued, opening up into the 8 period, just selling off all day. We're back down now to an area where there's probably going to be some buyers stepping in, looking to hold. We could potentially trade a little lower and fill this gap. This gap gets filled. When I say this gap, I'm really referencing here on the chart, right around here where we gapped. We closed here about 568. So we could trade a little lower here. That's another 10, 12 bucks lower and fill this gap before starting what could be a tradable bounce. So we're going to keep an eye out for that, reversal type of situation, possibly into tomorrow. But again, with this impulse and this momentum and this volume increasing as this sell-off progresses, you don't want to step in front of a freight train. You don't want to step in front of a freight train if the freight train is moving up, and you don't want to step in front of a freight train if that freight train is moving down. And this stock, with as much eyeballs and emotion and impulse that it has, being probably the most watched stock on the planet, there's going to be that rubber band effect where it's going to stretch further than you think on the downside, just like it stretched further than you probably thought on the upside. But there are tradable opportunities in there. I think today on the VTF we talked about this. This is a 13-minute sell setup, one of the active trader strategies that we teach. Big impulse down, 5-bar bounce into a declining 8 period. And you saw nothing but selling off of that little pivot there. So some really, really nimble trades if you know what to look for with some of these impulse-driven stocks. We're going to take a look at Priceline as well. Is it really another one of these high flyer, high beta, parabolic type trades? Another $30 haircut right from the get-go. We talked about this little 2-day consolidation here, seeing more selling, and I suspect you're probably going to see more selling. Maybe not necessarily tomorrow, but over the next couple of sessions, we could make our way back down to support. Support, I'm going to call this 650, 660 area for now, as there's really not much to the left here in this pocket, in this chart for us to trade down. We could, see a 1 to 2 day consolidation here, but I would suspect that we are going to push lower as these charts are telling us a story of weakness here. So we have to respect what high beta is telling us. We have some more high beta names with earnings into this week. CMG, Chipotle, the most notable, I think, on Wednesday. So we'll see what that brings us. We saw what happened with Google, and that selling continued in Google into an area where you may have a micro level of support, that 600 mark, plus or minus. We've seen a couple pivot lows into this area. But again, I wouldn't be stepping in just being a buyer and hoping for the best. Wait for a setup. Really, you'll probably see it much more intraday than you will see it on a daily chart. So for those of you that have made a lot of money being long some of these high beta, high flyer stocks, they're telling you a story. And if you're not respecting that story, you could be putting yourself into jeopardy and taking on more risk than you could possibly stomach or even want. Tomorrow before the bell, Goldman Sachs has earnings. Goldman, a bellwether financial stock, sort of the white glove bank, if you will, one of the most prestigious names out there. But like we said this morning, when you look at the bigger picture of Goldman, this is a weekly. and we talked about this in the morning call, Lindsay and I, has been making lower highs over the past 3 years. Do I think that the earnings are going to matter? Not really, but again, that's just my one man's opinion. The technicals will tell me what to do. And right now the technicals tell me that, there's still sellers in this marketplace. While we have seen short-term pops, every pop has essentially been a lower high that has made ultimately a new low. So we'll see what this market has in store for Goldman early tomorrow morning and into tomorrow. Definitely be on the radar for those of you that are more intraday and active. JP Morgan, the first big bank to report, not much in the way of price action today. We sort of consolidated Friday's sell-off, but certainly no resounding snapback, and this to me looks like it could potentially trade lower. So now, where does that leave us? That leaves us with being a very, very nimble, careful stock picker. I think this is the type of market, like I said this morning, where you have to pick and choose your battles wisely. You can't just buy every dip and think that it's going to snap back and it's going to make new highs. That trade is off the board officially right now, as that was really led by those high beta momentum names, and those high beta momentum names are not showing us that type of action. So we need to respect that. Silver lining today, Caterpillar up a little bit, but tailing off as the day progressed. Caterpillar to me still has these downtrending sloping averages. And to me, still making lower highs. So we'll see. Is this another lower high, or is this the start of something, potentially beginning to leg back up? IBM, again, was up 1% today up until the bell. I think they took it down towards the end of the day. Has earnings tomorrow at the close. This, to me, tells us that this stock wants to probe lower. We don't have any real good support in IBM till down around 195, 197. So we could see another haircut here in IBM, something to watch into earnings over the next couple of days. And if it really breaks through that 195 level, it could come back to this next level of support, which really doesn't come into play till 180, 175. So be very, very careful if you're stepping into tech land. Tech land is not really where the money flow is right now, or what we've seen this week. S&Ps, like I said to start the broadcast, looking like they're starting to push lower here. Our MAs are starting to curl down. That's generally not a good sign for the bulls. And lastly, let's take a look at one retail name, a stock that I think could be setting up in a bear flag. For those that are looking for some trade ideas, this is Lulu. Again, a little bit more speculative and probably a higher risk, as it's just a stone's throw off these highs and not necessarily the most compelling short. But I think tomorrow into the next day you could see another trade down, as these types of patterns, these big impulse down days and these 3 or 4 bars of retracement and overlap have been patterns that we are seeing getting hit in the short term. So for those of you looking for maybe a quick active day trade, some of the other big cap names, Salesforce CRM getting hit on the chin, taking it on the chin today. VMW, another one seeing some selling. Visa, MasterCard didn't really pile through those new highs that we talked about in MasterCard, but nothing really changed here. Pattern's still very much intact, and Visa as well. So again, depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for some longs, watch to see how these set up in the days ahead, as they're really the only thing, one of the few things out there that are are still intact and still potentially could leg higher. So if you're looking for longs, focus on where the money, where the strength is right now as the market's, sort of probing lows. If you're looking for shorts, there's really a lot more of those starting to develop. And as high beta really comes to, a close here, when I say a close, I mean, the apples and the price lines will probably start to taper off a little bit in the days ahead. I don't think you're going to see as much panic and impulse on the downside. Look for some, crafty and nimble trades. LVS, another one, possibly that could leg lower, breaking out to new highs and sort of failing. That's what we call that push through failure that Scott always talks about, where it, pushes in the new highs and then fails. This is a trade that could potentially pick up some steam to the downside. But right now, it doesn't necessarily make it a short, just stuff to watch in the days ahead. So, really cultivate and craft a good watch list. And again, right now, if you're looking for fast money, it is in that high beta momentum stuff. Market's very reminiscent right now of, I don't want to say the lonely bear in the cave, but I'm going to send you off a little Mumford called The Cave here. Parker, can we take him out with that? All right, let's do it. As always, have a great day tomorrow. I'll be on the VTF, possibly on the morning call, depending on if Scott's legs still work from the marathon. Take care. As always, I will talk to you tomorrow.
You take what is yours and I'll take mine. Now let me get the truth which will refresh my broken mind.